Lori Fleckhead of Soltar Solutions, and I'm here today on Focus Forward with Holly Borrelli, the owner and CEO of Ms. Beehaven's Brittle. Thanks so much for coming in today, Holly.
I'm happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit. Well, we're going to talk today about branding and brand extension.
Okay.
Often I notice when people have a product, they create a new product, there's no cohesiveness to the brand. So all of the clout, all of the power that their first brand or the initial brand had, for some reason, seems to be diluted. So how does one keep their brand pure as they extend that brand and create more products?
Well, the first thing that you do in order to make sure that a brand doesn't change is to create guidelines for your brand. That's really paramount. And then you try not to stray from that. And if you do incorporate something else, what you're actually doing is you're weakening your brand. And so the way that I explain it is that if you're adding something and it doesn't strengthen your brand, it's weakening your brand. So that's it. If you add anything, and if it's not working towards it, it's working against it, and get it out of there.
So there's no brand neutral?
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, I would say that that is correct. It's pretty much either it's working for you or it's working against you. So in setting up those guidelines in the beginning is very important. And so when I created my brand, I picked my colors and I stay true to my colors. I'm now having a new product produced right now, and I'm not happy with the red because the red's too magenta. And so we're trying to work on getting the printing correct because that red is off. And if that red is off, it's hurting my brand, it's not helping.
So question about brand guidelines, you mentioned those. What are the kinds of things that you would include in a brand guidelines?
That's an excellent question. Color schemes and your font choice. And the font choice, you should be able to pick a font or a font family that has enough latitude where you can use it throughout the whole entire life of the business. And so when you're picking fonts, you're not picking them for this jar or for this bag. You're picking them for, you're picking a family or a one font that you're going to use for the whole life of your business. And you pretty much stay within that unless you have a brand change. And we've seen some brand changes with 3M, Campbell Soup tried it, Coca-Cola did something, Pepsi, things like that. With those bigger companies, they decide to do a brand change. But if you really work to standardize the brand, then that can live for the life of the business. So besides the font and besides the color, you can think of it as line quality. And so you'll notice that in my products, I have a nice thick black line. And so I try to keep that line quality the same on anything I do. Also, you'll notice that I have a shape, and I keep that shape consistent throughout all of my products. And when I look to add products, I look to incorporate that shape in part or in whole. So if I find that if a product has that type of shape, like my brand, I will consider picking that up as a product because it actually supports the shape of my brand. Let's see, the other thing I know that I'm missing something. Shape is another thing. So I keep it consistent with shape, with color, polka dots. I was going to mention the polka dots, texture. And so when I'm setting up brands for my clients, and I also teach this at an area college here, and when I have my students set up a brand, I encourage them to do a texture. And a lot of them don't want to do it because they don't see the value in it. However, you can see with my brand, when I pick the texture, people see these polka dots from across, the fairs when I'm at the fairs, and they're literally coming across the fair in order to see what's under the polka dot tent. And everything has polka dots. So I'm trying to give a new meaning to polka dots. Polka dots are very strong. And so I'm grabbing onto that strength as part of my brand. And I do my best to keep that consistent too.
What about the feeling, that emotional pull to a brand? would that be something that you would include in those guidelines?
I would, and it's funny that you say that, because one of the activities that I have my students do is to take the feeling and kind of the story of the brand, but the feeling after they identify that, those feelings, and put them into words. Then they go and they look for inspirations that have nothing to do with their brand, but then they actually elicit the same feelings that you're trying to go for. And that's a little trick, because it's showing you how other companies or other products have elicited those same feelings. So I'll give you an example. If you have soap and you want to have a very light feeling, and say the soap is very light and fluffy and it's gentle, right? If you look at toilet paper, a lot of toilet paper tries to give that same feeling. And so if you say, well, how did toilet paper do it? Then you can take that and you can apply it to the product with the same feeling. And so if you step away from the product and you pretty much go with, what's the story, what's the feeling, and then continue that on, and looking for inspiration from other products, it works really well. The other thing I wanted to say is, one thing that we created with our brand is a story. And so we've developed the story very thoroughly and richly, and we keep feeding the story. When I incorporate new products, we're feeding the story a lot. And so we always try to feed that, because if you think about it, brand is like a snowball. And so your product base gets bigger, and your brand gets bigger, and the story gets bigger, and now you're putting maybe a sign on the side of your car, and that's making that brand bigger and bigger every time that you use that and you implement it. So I'm really, really, really careful about my brand.
So let me paraphrase. What you're saying, that I'm understanding you say, is you make a strong brand to begin with, you create your guidelines, you stick within those guidelines, and then you look at how you're extending those out in a way that fortifies, strengthens, and also emulates your brand.
Yes.
So tell us now about the extension. So we know that this was the original brand.
Right.
Okay, the Ms. Beehaven's Brittle.
Right.
Tell us about the extension. How have you gone to extend this brand?
Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, I created the brand, and it was a very nostalgic brand that was based in the 40s. And we were going with, what's the woman's name that has the head cloth that has the polka dots on it?
Aunt Jemima?
No, it's the one that's with the...
Oh, I know how you're talking about.
I know.
We Can Do It.
Yeah, We Can Do It, right. And so I can't remember her name. She does have a name. And so we kind of went with the 40s era, and we were trying to pick that up with strength in women, and really, celebrate somebody's life, and kind of, take them through all the stories of the person's life. Now, when we started, we were very nostalgic, and we were very old. I decided to extend the brand a little bit and make it a little bit more contemporary. And so with my brand extension, we have that she's now on a motorcycle. And so you could see that this is more contemporary, this is more old-fashioned, and you can see that it definitely matches the brand. And so we have a lot of humor in our brand, and I wanted to do that with a caricature. I also thought that the caricature could extend into other other brand extensions. And so now that I have an artist that can do this caricature, now if I wanted to put out a product for Christmas, I could have her on a snowmobile. Okay, I can do a lot of things, and so I'm looking at another product, Miss Behaven's Popped for popped corn, and we're planning on having her pop a wheelie. So it's kind of like we continue the story. It's not really about just the product, it's about making the story bigger. And it's, if you think about it, it's a storybook. Where would you expect the story to go? And that's what you're doing. You're looking at your brand and your product on a much higher level.
Okay, so tell us now. So now we've gone from the peanut brittle to the actual peanuts, okay, the flavored peanuts, which are beautiful here. She's on the motorcycle and she's ready to go. And now tell us a little bit about the baskets.
Okay, so before we get to the baskets, I do want to say that the reason why we decided to go into the peanuts is because we feel very strongly about peanuts and how much protein they can give children. And that's how I really, started doing this, is I wanted to provide my kids with a really good candy 23 years ago. And so when we moved into peanuts, we made sure that that fit the company brand and the company's goals of mission to give children and other people different products to eat. And we're kind of going retro with it with this. However, flavored peanuts is really not a retro thing. It's more of a thing now. And so we looked at that and decided that fit our brand well. So then when we moved on, we were trying to think of ways to cross-market the peanuts, and we decided to go with themed baskets. And now we're working on that, and we're figuring out, okay, well, what would make sense for Miss Beehaven? What kind of basket, would she have? And so we're going with some popcorn right now, some popcorn and peanuts, and snack time and things like that. One of our up-and-coming things, I'm very much into poker, and poker really fits the brand as far as Miss Beehaven, and also with peanuts. I serve these peanuts at my poker party, and before I even decided to put the product out, I had my poker friends taste the peanuts to make sure it was something that I should produce. And so our poker basket is going to, I think, be very popular, and it's going to go well, and it really goes with our theme. So we're really working to develop that, and we're very careful about everything we're going to put in those baskets.
The other thing that I notice is it seems everything is family oriented. It's a family brand, and here we have what's more family oriented than families getting together and watching movies. True. So that's another thing that I think it's just amazing, and it's fun. I mean, it's fun. And then when I was out shopping in Seattle, I just wanted to show you, I picked up some very, very fun products that I think are pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And everything now catches my eye that has the polka dots.
Right.
How adorable. And then we have the little clipboard. So it's, and this could go very nicely with our...
Right, with a snack pack for kids.
A snack
to go
pack
to
for
school.
kids.
It's got, so many grams of protein. And those are the things, if you look for those connections, sometimes you have to really go out on a limb on those connections. But if you can put it together, and if you can explain it, then you can probably sell it as a connection item. So
tell us a little bit about what Amazon has done for your business.
Interesting. So what Amazon has done for my business is that it seems to not streamline it, seems to stabilize it. And so when I'm putting my products up, then those products will sell throughout the year, sometimes higher, especially with peanut brittle, sometimes higher or lower. But it kind of keeps the money coming in. It also keeps my product available to the clients at any time, and that's important. And so I cross-market a lot, and so you'll notice that part of my branding includes the Amazon, if you could see it, the wrong side right there, so available on Amazon. Now I've put that on my business cards also, so when I hand out the business cards, it says that. And so I felt that was really important, and people look at that, and it's like that it holds power.
Yes.
And so people will come up to my stand and say, oh, you're on Amazon, and I don't even have to tell them now. Where before I used to have to tell them, but now I've used the negative space on my label in order to do some of that cross-marketing. And so I'm finding that there's a lot of power in cross-marketing, which is another show.
So before we end, I'd like you to give 3 tips to the viewers on how they could create a powerful brand.
So how to create a powerful brand? Create a story, okay? Let's see. Create guidelines. And if you can't create the brand, pay somebody else to create that brand, because your brand is very important.
It's the most valuable thing.
It is.
Thanks so much for coming on. This has been wonderful.
No problem.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I'm Lori Flaquer of Soltar Solutions. You've been here on Focus Forward. I hope that you will get on Amazon, try some of these products. Maybe you'll see us at a fair one day. But thanks so much for tuning in today, and I'd love you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Take it easy.